Well, hello everybody. Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to Thursday Live. And as you can see, Lincoln is in his spot and I'm in my spot. And I'm thankful that you're in your spot. And if you're here for the very first time at Thursday Live, welcome. I am thrilled that you're here, regardless of the platform that you're on. And I've been following some of your conversation already. And whether you're on our YouTube channel or you're on Facebook and Facebook Live, I just want to encourage you to make sure you're a part of the comments. It's a great way to be connected, and it's a great way to make this experience a little bit more three-dimensional, okay? And I'm really looking forward to, I've been looking forward to this for a couple days now because of what I get to talk to you about and, the things that I've been wrestling with that I get to share with you and make some spiritual application out of. And so I'm just really glad that you're here. And while a couple of other people show up, I just kind of connect with you over here. Like I said, I've seen just a ton of you here. Peggy Blood said, "Hi, Lincoln." Peggy, he's here just for you and for all the other Lincoln lovers and dog lovers. I always appreciate your love for him. And a big hey to Wayne Curtis. I appreciate you facilitating a bunch of the discussion here, Wayne. And Jeff Black is also engaged, two of our staff members. And hey to Tony Shapash and Lori Aaron and Aubrey Lee. Aubrey Lee is a good friend, and his daughter and son-in-law just had a baby over in Germany. And Aubrey just got back with Janice, his wife, and they've been celebrating that. And I do have to say this because, once you're a grandparent, it's about the competition. And Aubrey, you're still behind me. Just, how many do you have again? We have 7. Just thought I'd throw that in there. And hey to Glenn and Kalinda and Frida. Hello, Pastor Brad and Lincoln from Frida and William Askew. Great to have you guys here. Okay, and if you are a guest, hope you won't be a guest again. I hope that you'll come back and just be a part of our Thursday Live community. And many who are a part of this community are also a part of the spiritual family that I get the unbelievable privilege of pastoring, Northridge Church. But not everybody. We have people from this country and other countries and from other communities that aren't a part of Northridge who are a part of this community. And so welcome to all of you. And I hope that you'll make sure you like this thing, that you subscribe to the channel, that you remain an active part of this, and that you invite others to be a part of this, okay? Today, I have decided that I'm going to share something out of, and that's going to be of extreme relevance to Northridge Church family and something that we do and have done for years as a church family, the glory of Christmas. But for those of you who aren't a part of Northridge who are our guests, just know that I am going to be talking about some spiritual applications and spiritual truths that I've had to be weaving and implementing into my life, trying to apply into my life as I've been dealing with the issues surrounding this thing that as a leader, as the senior pastor of Northridge Church, I've really had to wrestle with and try and, respond in the right ways to the world we live in and the circumstances and the culture and the events. And I just think it can be helpful to you as you wrestle with whatever it is you're wrestling with in life. And that's what Thursday Live is. It's not a repeat church service. I take you places where I wouldn't take you in a sermon or in a talk or a weekend conversation. I haven't scripted any kind of, talk that I want to share with you. I've basically just laying out spiritual things that I'm wrestling with and the truths that I've been trying to apply, and hopefully that'll help you in your real life too. And so Thursday Live's more of a personal, out of my personal life, my personal leadership, and a more raw look at what I'm doing. Thus, I have Lincoln under my desk a good portion of the time. And just so you know, you Lincoln lovers, I'm not forsaking you, but he has forsaken me. Even his bone didn't keep him there. So when he comes back, if he comes back, I might bring Lincoln back into the picture. But The Glory of Christmas, for those of you who are guests or from different parts of the world, is an event we've been doing for, almost 30 years, actually 30 years, around the Christmas season. It's this very large, it's not our weekend church service. It's a very, very large production that our church family invests their time and their money and their creativity and their gifts in a very big way to bring the Christmas story alive in a relevant and excellent way that we've been told, and we believe as well, competes with what Broadway can do and beyond it, because we have more people involved, and it's just a crazy thing that we can do. Broadway has to pay everybody on the stage, and we have so many wonderful believers who volunteer their time, who are very talented, who step onto the stage and who do our productions behind the stage and write and produce. It's just this huge thing that draws in just thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people each year to hear the story of Jesus. And what we do as believers is we buy the tickets for the Glory of Christmas and then give them to our friends that we know need to hear the story of Jesus, need the hope of Jesus, need to hear the good news that Jesus came to save them, to forgive them, to give them life and life to the full. It's just a huge thing. So when I talk about GOC or the Glory of Christmas, that's what it's about. And again, it's not a replacement church service, weekend service. It's an event that we do that's really meant to draw people to the story of Jesus in a way that would then ultimately get them stepping into church, we hope, and into the family of God and into discipleship. But as it relates to the Glory of Christmas at Northridge, I'll tell you what I've been wrestling with, and then I'll give you the spiritual thoughts and application that you can apply to your setting. Is that fair enough? And I see that, Jeff Black says Lincoln has left the building. Laugh out loud. That's exactly right. And so people have been asking, and this is what I've had to wrestle with because I'm the senior pastor. I'm ultimately accountable. I can't do it alone. I have a staff. I have, wise advisors who walk with me and people that I work with. But in the end, I have to be the one accountable to make the final decisions. And people have been asking a lot lately, are we going forward with the Glory of Christmas this year? Are we having GOC? And for context, it's important that you know that months ago, many months ago now, we made a very clear announcement that we were taking the GOC off ice and we were going to go for it this year in 2021. And of course, take it off ice because in 2020, because of all the swirling of the pandemic and because where the world was at and because in Michigan specifically, having, more than a certain small number of people in an enclosed auditorium space, even if it was a big auditorium, was problematic and it was a big deal. And so we decided there was no way, even if we had it and decided to push forward with it, that people in Michigan would come in, and there was still a lot of stuff going on. We were having church services at that time, but a lot's changed since we said we're taking it off of ice and we were going forward with the Glory of Christmas. A lot. At that time, it looked like the pandemic was in its last gasps as it related to impact in America. All the tallies of people contracting GOC were way, way, way down. There were very, very, no deaths, basically, very small number. Our area had really tapped it down. In fact, so crazy good were the thoughts about COVID at the time that Broadway, in a very lockdown-oriented state, New York, announced that they were going to be opening in September. Live sports, in-person live arena sports, both indoor and outdoor, were coming back in. March Madness was going to happen, and you've seen football stadiums this year, and it's a big deal. And so everything was moving forward, and the in-person stuff was moving forward, and it was a big deal. And so we said, GOC, forge forward. Let's make that thing happen. And it made sense. It was a very practical decision. In fact, there was no reason not to. And so we were, it was a reasonable, logical, and celebrated decision. I just got a text that said I said something about contracting GOC. We don't contract GOC. It's a church family that invests in doing GOC. So if I said the word contracting, I'm sorry. But I just want you to be aware that everybody thought it was reasonable, but now things have changed. As the flu season hit in the southern states, the COVID started spiking again, even with all the vaccinations, and even, there were a bunch of breakthrough cases with fully vaccinated people. And now as flu season's moving up, north in its geography, it's doing the same thing in many cities. And, people contracting COVID is big. Hospitals are starting to be impacted, and it's being predicted, though we're not experiencing it in a huge way yet in Michigan, it's being predicted that it's just going to be crazy again, just at the time we're doing GOC. And it's a reasonable question people are asking. Are we going to go forward with it? Because they're hearing all this news. They know it's going to spike. They see what's happening. They're seeing other people close down. Schools are closing down if there's one case of COVID being contracted. There's all kinds of wrestling about, vaccine cards and proving that you have this, or you can't go into concert venues, and all the kinds of things that there's no way we could or would do at Northridge. We're a mask optional environment right now at Northridge, and plan on moving forward that way. For those who really do want to be in a mask only environment, we offer a part of our balcony where only people in masks go to that, but it's mask optional. We're a church that's very loving and accepting of the diverse views and needs of a bunch of people. And so when people come in and they're wearing masks, we celebrate them and honor them and respect them. And if that's not true of some people, those people need to change, because, of course, we're going to respect and honor people who make that choice. And we're going to respect and honor those who make the other choice. And we're not going to, nor could we, dig into all the private and personal medical history of every single person walking into our church. It's ridiculous. We're wanting to share the name of Jesus with people, but at the same time, be wise and keep people safe. But it's reasonable for people to ask, are you going forward? Because schools are sending classes home and even closing when there's one case of COVID, and people are thinking, well, what happens if someone in the choir gets it? And what happens if someone in the production? Or what happens if this happens? Or what happens if people buy tickets and we have to shut down a concert, which we have no plans of doing? But what would happen if, thousands of people don't want to come and they ask for returns? And there are reasonable reasons for people to be asking and wondering, are you going to go forward? Are you going to go forward? And I think it's important that I answer that question and give you the spiritual reasons for. And tonight, I'm going to answer that question. Are we going forward with the glory of Christmas this year in light of all the speculation about what could come, what could happen? In fact, I will be sharing with you not just the answer to that, but I'll be at the end looking to entertain some questions that you might have about what I'm saying and the decision I'm making and why and those kind of things. I won't answer any question that's not done in a respectful and honorable way, respectful of all the people who show up here, and respectful of me, and respectful of what a spiritual community should represent. But that doesn't mean it has to be a question that agrees with me. It just has to be respectful. But I just need you to know that before I answer the question, I want to share with you some thoughts and context for my answer. And this is where I think there's some spiritual truth and application that could be valid in the things you're wrestling with in life. Because remember, this is something I'm genuinely wrestling with, and it's big, and it's important, and it's vital. And there are people who can be very, very angry with the decision I make, and people who can be very, very, very happy. And in one church family, the people who are happy can be applauding and whistling, and the other people can be booing and cheering. And it's like we're supposed to be a unified family in our love for Jesus. And, I'm begging you, really, come on. It's not about cheering those down or booing the others down. We're not in a protest against each other. We're a spiritual family. But I want to share my spiritual thoughts in this, and then maybe answer some questions at the end. But I'm not going to answer it right now. So I'm burying the lead. I'm going to make you wait. All right. But here's the context for what we're talking about. I want you to know the thing that's made it really difficult for me, as a pastor, as a leader, as a person, quite frankly, with my own personal views and values in life that lead to the choices, my own personal choices that I make in life. There's a weird phenomenon in our world these days. I mean, a crazy phenomenon. And I'm just going to talk about it. I'll give it a simple definition. What's the weird phenomenon these days? The lack of balance. The lack of balance. And there's never a perfect balance. We humans are never perfect in our choices and our balance. But I mean, we are living in a day where it's like there's no balance. The pendulum for some people is way over here to the right, and it's just like the anxiety and stress levels are really high, and they're screaming and hollering for their point. And then these people over here, the pendulum's all the way to the left and the top, and they're screaming this, and there's nothing here. There's no balance. There's no meeting, and it's crazy. And it's true in a lot of arenas of life. I think you're seeing it play out politically and culturally. It's certainly happening spiritually. And it's invading and hurting the faith arena, the spiritual community, even churches like ours. It's nuts. I'll give you the example of how it's invading the faith community, what it's doing to so many in the faith community. And remember, I'm the pastor of a pretty large church and hear from a lot of people, see a lot of people, and I have a perspective that not a lot of people have. Not a lot of pastors have, not a lot of Christians have, not a lot of churches have. It's a pretty broad perspective. And I've been doing this in the same place for over 30 years. So, I mean, there's context for interpreting what's going on too. And I'm telling you, the lack of balance, the pendulum swing to opposite points, even in the faith arena, is way beyond anything I've ever experienced in my life and ministry. And I'll give you the example of how the pendulum swings. On one side of the room, or one side of the faith community of the lack of balance, are these people who basically say, I'll call them the all faith only people who have no room for any pursuit of practical wisdom from God, no room for any practical human reasoning or practical choices. It's just all faith. And it's faith, of course, interpreted by their view of what faith should be. But I mean, they're all faith people. And so if you make any choice, like at Northridge, we're going to be mask optional. You can wear it or not. Man, the faith-only people can be the people who say, you come in with a mask, you don't have any faith because you're wearing a mask. And it's like, well, I wore a mask. I still do at times. I have to travel and I wear a mask. It's got nothing to do with my faith. Practical wisdom, practical reasoning. I don't want to get kicked off the plane. I don't want to be in the news as a vile and disrespectful human being to flight attendants and pilots and to airline guidelines. And I'm going to apply this thing, and it's got nothing to do with my faith. But the faith only, there are so many faith only people. And even though they don't have biblical reason for this, they basically are saying if you get a vaccine, you have no faith. Is that true of the polio vaccine? Is that true of the, any other vaccine? We have smallpox vaccine. Is that true of, any other vaccine we could get? And I could go through them. And that, of course, it's not. It's only the COVID vaccine, because it's so attached to political things. So that's not faith to get that. And I'm not defending the vaccine. I'm not dismissing the vaccine. I'm saying getting the vaccine is not a demonstration that you have no faith, but we have those people. And, then you have on the other side, within the church, within the spiritual arena, the faith arena, the all practical human reasoning and wisdom side. I mean, all of their faith is in science and they have no room for spiritual godly faith. Come on. And they basically say they attach their faith to their human reasoning and their human wisdom. And if you're not if you're not wearing a mask and if you're not getting a vaccine and if you're not following the science, not that anybody's perfectly doing that, you're not doing this, and if that's not where your faith is, then you don't have real faith. They have no room for this faith in God thing. These are the people who say, when people get hurt in a natural disaster or, some kind of human tragedy, and they go, we'll be praying for you. Your prayers don't do anything. You've got to do this and this and this. It's like, and yet this is where we are. The fever pitch, faith only, no human reasoning, human reasoning, wisdom in the name of God. Here it's my faith is God's faith. My wisdom is God's wisdom. No room for faith thing. It's ludicrous, this lack of balance. And so imagine being in a position like mine where I have to make a leadership decision. And I got hit a lot on this, and I'm not whining. I'm glad to be the pastor of the church. I'm glad to be accountable. All my decisions aren't great. I'm really flawed in my application. I have no perfect balance, but I'm trying faith and wisdom. And last year it was like there were people who thought I should never have closed faith only. I'm a shepherd of a flock. I had no idea what this pandemic was going to do. I should, just let people walk into a death chamber? I didn't know what was going to happen. Of course, a shepherd would try and protect his sheep. And that's not a demonstration of no faith. And then, when we finally said, yeah, we think we understand this, we know it can be a reasonable way to come together. We're an essential mission. We're not closing. We're going forward. And we've been meeting for a year plus in person. There were a lot of people who said, you opened too soon. And I can't believe not everybody's having to wear a mask, even though we did it first. Now we don't. And I can't believe you're not, checking for vaccines. And I can't believe you're not, bringing in the FBI. And it's the fever pitch. And I'm not going to make my decision based upon the yelling from either side. It's just not how we're supposed to live. It doesn't work that way. Jesus didn't. I'm not going to the best of my ability. Let me just tell you, it's not good to be on these pendulum swings, lack of balance. And it's not biblical. And so I'm trying to be biblical, and I'm trying to maybe help you interpret better, even your own emotions, because I do swing, and I have my sides. But I'm trying to be where God would have me to be, where Jesus was. And I'm going to give you two passages, talk about them a bit, and then I'll give you the answer, and I think you'll be able to understand it, the answer to Are We Having GOC? The first verse is one of my favorites from the book of Proverbs. Of course, you'll hear me say that about a bunch of Proverbs, but Proverbs chapter 21, verse 31. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but victory rests with the Lord. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but victory doesn't rest in the horse being made ready for battle, but victory rests with the Lord. That one proverb is a demonstration of the need for balance between faith and practical human investment, reasoning, and, the pursuit of God's wisdom in our humanity. The horse is made ready for battle. What's that talking about? It's talking about if you're going to go to war, in this day when horses were a key instrument for success or failure in battle, you had to prepare the horse for battle. You had to train the horse, educate the horse, armor the horse. You had to make sure the horse could do what it needs to do in battle, that it was ready for the sounds and the horrors and what you had to get the horse ready for battle. That's human investment. That's practical human work. It's what we have to do. It takes reasoning and logic and wisdom. But in the end, victory rests with the Lord. That's faith. So God's not saying, if you have faith, you don't have to train horses, you don't have to wear armor, you don't have to train with swords or whatever your era of military involvement is. No, just trust God. That's not right. The horse is made ready for day of battle, but victory rests with the Lord. Some people will go, what about David with Goliath? He didn't have armor on, and he didn't have a horse prepared for that. He didn't. But he had been preparing his entire life, readying himself his entire life to kill bears and lions to protect the sheep with his slingshot. And then he could trust God to take what he was prepared and ready to do, humanly had practiced to do, and trust God to help him take Goliath down. So it's both attaching. But I will point out the human element and wisdom and practical is really important, but it's got to be built upon the foundation of faith. Victory rests with the Lord. Victory rests with the Lord. Another passage is James chapter 1, verse 2 through 8. He says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." And he's talking about how we should react humanly, how we should respond, with our minds, with our hearts, and our behavioral patterns when we're going through really difficult times, and it's opposite of what we would think. And how do we do that? By faith. Understanding, knowing by faith that all of these difficult times is producing a stronger faith. And he says, let perseverance finish its work so that you may become mature and complete and not lacking in anything. And then it says, if anyone lacks wisdom, don't worry. You don't need wisdom. All you need is faith. No, that's not what it says. If any of you lacks wisdom in your faith, then by faith, ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. God will give you, within your capacity for human reasoning and human logic and human wisdom, if you're trusting in him, reasonable wisdom as you depend on him to make good decisions. It takes both, not an imbalance, not a lack of balance. And then he says, but when you ask for wisdom, not for, I don't need wisdom, God, I don't need to make choices, it's just faith. But when you ask for wisdom, you have to believe, have faith, and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind, and that person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. In other words, it's not enough just to have wisdom and make practical choices and have human logic. Without faith, you're going to be like a wave tossed to and fro in the sea. You need both. We need balance. And if we don't, in the faith arena, we're going to blow it. And we're blowing it a lot. The church is blowing it a lot. Spiritual leaders are blowing it a lot. We're hurting each other a lot, and it's crazy. All right. So that's how I've approached this decision about, are we going forward with GOC? Now, remember, it was easier to make the decision months ago. Even Broadway was opening. Even live arenas, inside and outside, for sports were opening, and concerts, opening, all going forward. Why not? That's what's going to happen in the fall and the winter. That's no-brainer. But now all the speculation of what COVID's going to be like right around GOC, the possibilities, what schools are doing around us, what business, just heard of another business in Plymouth that, we're not going to be meeting to the new year, and all these responses and all the people asking and saying, oh, you can't go forward, right? Or, and we have these people, you've got to go forward, faith, and then you can't go forward, wisdom, and I'm having to make a decision that will honor God and be the best decision I can make for Northridge Church going forward. And here's the answer as I've tried to do this. And I've gotten a lot of advice. The Proverbs also talks about, if you want to win, be successful, make wise decisions, get counsel, and I've done that. Many arenas, many places. But the answer is, are we having GOC? Are we moving forward with GOC? Yes. YES, all capitalized with an exclamation mark or two or three. Yes, 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 yes. We're going forward. And again, I know not everybody. Some people go, yeah. Other people, no. And I get it. Just know that God's not put you in the position to make this decision. He's put me in this decision. And that's the answer we've come up with. And let me just tell you just some of the reasons why. There are a lot of reasons why. But I think something was lost, and a lot of people got hurt by it during the pandemic. And it was probably people more on this faith-only thing than the wisdom than any others, but some over here too. But they had no example of bold leadership anywhere. And, bold leadership, being willing to be courageous in faith while anchored by the pursuit and then application of God's wisdom with balance. And I think a lot of Christians and churches have been disappointed by this thing. And I'm disappointed by some leaders and some churches and some Christians around the world, even in our own setting. There are churches that still haven't opened. There are Christians that are still afraid of their own shadow. And I'm not talking about not being wise and practical. I'm talking about just chucking faith all the way. And it's disappointing to me. And I have been more emboldened in the last year and a half with the truth that there is nothing more missionally necessary and essential than the Church of Jesus Christ, period. And that's why we've been having and are going to continue having weekend services. We're not going to make them super restrictive, though we're not going to be nuts in what we do, because we just think the church needs to go forward. And I believe at this point in time, with the strange leadership going on in the world, and it's been going on for years, and some of the disappointing leadership in many environments and all that different stuff, I think what Christians need, what our church needs, what the church world needs, is bold and courageous leadership based upon faith, but not lacking in the understanding that God wants to give us wisdom, like I've already talked about. And that's one reason. And another reason is I don't want it to be devoid of human reason and pursuit of godly wisdom in its application. So along with that, yes, right? Yes, we're going forward with GOC. Yes, we're moving forward. Yes, we're going to see God do great work. That's our expectation as we move forward. But I also want you to know I've tried to pursue it with asking God for wisdom I lack and asking God for giving me practical understanding where I can make application to our setting. And so what we've done is we've said, even though we've been meeting in person on our weekends for a year, over a year, we still haven't grown back. In fact, we're probably about half of the attendance of in-person church gathering that we were before the pandemic. That is crazy that we're 50% or maybe even a little less than what we were before. And a lot of people look around who come in person and they go, wow, that many people left Northridge. You just need to know, no, they didn't. They didn't leave Northridge. I mean, some did, of course. People have left in every year of my ministry for a lot of reasons: economic, move away, geographic. They don't like me, something I said, faith only, wisdom, whatever their reason. And certainly some people have left, of course. And if a lot of times when people leave, they leave vocally in the name of Jesus, So you might know of that, but that's not why we don't have the same in-person attendance. Because I know that because the people who are really committed to a church are the people who give. The people can come and go who don't give, and they've never been committed in the first place, and you know who you are. But though we don't have the exact finances we did as we came up to the pandemic, I'm telling you, it's really gone down quite minimally. And I mean, very minimally. I just can't believe the level of sacrifice, commitment, and continued generosity of you who are part of the Northridge family. And it's an amazing thing. And so we have the same body of believers, this large body. It's just, they're not all coming in person. Well, in light of that, we used to have 10 and up to 12 concerts, and it's 10 was the standard for years, and we added some along the way at times. But we're going, okay, if in-person attendance it hasn't grown but to about 50% of it was before, even though we've got the same church body, what's it going to be like when we're trying to jam people into the glory of Christmas? And what would be the possibility of needing 10 concerts over 2 weekends? And would that be wise? And that's what we've been pursuing God's wisdom about. Not whether or not we should have the faith to go forward. Yes, we should, and we are. But we realized we think a good starting place, and there's a secondary reason for this too, but we think a good starting place, and this is where we are this year, we're going to do one full packed weekend, 5 concerts of Glory of Christmas. And we're going to push to fill the seats and to get people there, the unbelievers there, and we'll be selling tickets, and we're going to be doing that thing. And man, if we thrive with GOC over that one weekend, it'll be an amazing thing, a great step in the right direction for Northridge, for in-person involvement and all that stuff. We're really, really excited about it. And then that will set us up to continue moving forward in years to come. But we think it would be, even with all the faith in the world, which we have, bold leadership, which we're, standing on, it doesn't make a lot of sense to try and do 10 programs. And that'd be like me saying, I know we're only at 50% attendance on the weekend, but why don't we add 3 more services just so we can rattle around a little more? It's not a good investment of time, of the investment of our volunteers, of, any of that. So we're trying to pursue God's wisdom as we rest in faith in him. And that's kind of where we're at. We'll have those 5 concerts. We'll invest big time. We'll move forward, and we think it's going to be strong. As it relates to ticket sales, some of you are going, yeah, one of those tickets is going to go on sale. Stay tuned. We haven't made a decision yet. We're not going to start it too early. We'll give enough time. We're going to start with our church family and then move on just like we always do. Those who understand the mission are going to be first at it. And for volunteers, I just want to, first of all, thank you for investing in this. And we want you to know we're going to boldly lead towards having this GOC so you're not wasting your investment. That's a big deal, a very big deal. And if you'd like to be involved in volunteering, we'd love to have you involved. And all you have to do if you want to find out opportunities, and there are many, is go to northridgechurch.com/GOC hyphen or dash opportunities. So northridgechurch.com/GOC dash opportunities. And you can check all of that out. And one last thing, I told you there was another thing. Not only is the practical wisdom of doing one weekend and 5 concerts and going forward, we think preparing the horse for battle, but victory resting with the Lord, resting in faith, standing on faith, but pursuing God's wisdom because we lack it. We really think that's there. But we want to go all out for Christmas Eve weekend a couple of weeks later as well. And so we're going to probably take some of the production elements of GOC and our volunteers and get them invested. And we're going to go full out for Christmas Eve services. And we want that to be a huge thing. So we're not doing less ministry, but we're doing the GOC, and then we're trying to move people into the weekend for the Christmas Eve service and tell the story of Jesus and fulfill our mission to wake the world up to Jesus. And so that's where we're at. And before I give you the application to this, the spiritual thought I did about balance, faith, and pursuing God's wisdom, I'm going to go now to questions you might have. And I know I've missed some along the way, but I'll kind of work in reverse order. Keith Norris said, my 2 elementary choir singers, they'll sing 5 concerts, 12 concerts, or wherever your leadership sends us. They really do love doing it. Thank you again for your leadership. Thanks, Keith. And I love your family's commitment and willingness. And so many have told me the same thing. And I want you to know it makes me emotional. I appreciate that. Can those that pay tithes faithfully get a discount code? Angela, that's great. That's a difficult one to do. Here's what to those who to give faithfully, obviously, at Northridge Church, what we do is We honor those who are part of the mission, and tickets open first to you. And we don't want you to invest beyond what you can invest in tickets. And we understand it can be really expensive for some, but when you go to Broadway, you can spend $100 and $150 for a ticket, even more, and the same with concerts and all of that. And our production, I believe, I know it's as technologically advanced and excellent, and it's bigger because of the volunteers invest in all that, and that we do it for $25 a ticket. I just want you to know we're giving it away. And I know you laughed out loud, but still, I just think it's important. A lot of people don't understand. They think we're getting rich on $25 tickets, but they're not putting it in context with the vast production that the Glory of Christmas is. Is there a link and instructions for members to get tickets? There will be. There'll be a phone call. We use a ticket service, and that'll be announced when we know when to put that thing forward. That was a question that was here from Maryland. Let's see if there are more questions. There's a place for everyone to volunteer. Yes, there is. Oh, Jeff Black put down the link. Thanks for doing that, Jeff. Have faith. God knows. Deb Somerville, if I lived in Michigan, would be there every weekend. Northridge Church is the best. Bless you, Brad. Thanks, Debbie. That's really sweet. Just going to see if there are other questions here. I heard it's only one weekend and nothing mentioned about ticket sales yet. Okay, Gail, I think I've mentioned that. We haven't announced when ticket sales will start yet. That's yet to be decided with our ticket group, the group that helps us sell those tickets, and the best time to make it happen. And we're not going to start it too early, but we will get that thing done. And yes, you'll hear about it when we have that. Christina said, I'm confident that this decision was well thought over, prayed over. Thank you, Pastor Brad. I appreciate that, Christina. Jenny said, this decision couldn't have been easy. I know you're guided by his word. Thanks. I appreciate your support. It's emotional. I really do appreciate it. It encourages me. We need to be thinking of our 16 words. Yes, we do, Wayne. All right. Well, I don't see too many questions. And such a great example, David, with Goliath. Thanks. Let's see. Do you know which weekend? Yes, I do know which weekend. It'll be the first weekend in December, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That was Beth's question. What weekend will GOC be? It'll be the very first weekend of December, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 5 performances. There'll be 2 on Sunday. And I think that's it. Are the dates finalized? Yes, I just shared them. Do you know the dates? Yes. Looking forward to serve. Will Mass be required similar to other productions where there's a full crowd? By the way, all different arenas are different on that, so it's not what's normally expected. Some do it. We are a mask optional ministry now. Obviously, we're going to keep monitoring events and things on the ground, but our plan is that it'll be mask optional, and we will honor those who come in with masks and show the same honor and respect for those who don't. That's our plan at this time. We think it's the only way we can really be wise in our practical application here. Okay. It looks like I urge then, first of all, that request, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for everyone. Thanks, Lynn. I appreciate the passage there. Dead on. All right. Well, I think I've got it. Here, I want to give you the application, and thanks for interacting. I really do appreciate it. And I'm really excited about Christmas Eve, that we have time for the team to rest and to recover from the energy investment and all that comes with putting the Glory of Christmas on, so that we can just do a bang-up Christmas Eve. I'm so excited about that, because the weekends, and just remember this, we love GOC. We're committed to it. But the weekends are a bigger priority. The weekends gathering of believers in services is a biblical value and principle and command of Jesus. Special events aren't. So, to put all this emphasis for Christmas Eve weekend, I'm excited about that. So that'll be great. But here's the application to the lack of balance. And I hope you're getting this, because I have a lack of balance. I have wants in this area, natural imbalances. But we can't allow our life of faith to be dictated by this lack of balance. Prepare the horse for battle. Victory rests with the Lord. The foundation is faith, but we can't trash anything that we don't consider faith-based. I mean, there's still wisdom and the pursuit of wisdom that God demands. And so here's the application to life. Keep balance. Please keep balance. When you're making a choice, when you're making a decision for yourself, and when you're criticizing or critiquing others, keep balance, for goodness sake. I mean, when you're writing a social media post, evaluate it by balance. Faith is the foundation, but God wants us to seek his wisdom and to live it out practically and to be wise. I mean, people who say faith only, the only way you can be consistent with that, and this would not be biblical, and there are religious groups that do this, would be to say, I can never take any medication. I can never go to a doctor. I can never go to a hospital. I can never get a surgery. I can never do anything of that nature because it's not trusting God. That is such a imbalanced and error-filled interpretation of Scripture, I can't even tell you. It's just not true. And I gave you 2 passages where I prove that. And if they go to business, I bet you they don't say it's faith only, and I can't think of organizational leadership principles that I can apply here for business and everything. As long as they don't break God, yes, you can. So just don't lack balance. Keep balance, keep balance. Let's keep balance as believers, as people, as a church. Does that make sense? All right. I'm going to pray with you. I've been talking a while. I've gone longer than normal. I hope that's okay. And let's pray. Father, thank you so very much for each person who connected here, whether live or later. Pour your grace into their lives. Help us not follow the crowd, follow the world, conform to the image of the world, which is just lacking balance in every regard. Help us to follow Jesus, and help us to live on the foundation of confident, courageous faith in God and his truth, but let us understand that it's supposed to invade our human reasoning and our practices, and we're supposed to pursue that which we don't have, godly wisdom, so we can apply it. As I've been praying and the team's been praying, I just pray that that's what we've done with you here with GOC. And I pray that you would help each and every one of us do this in our everyday lives. I thank you for your love for us. Thanks for this opportunity to be together. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks for joining me for Thursday Live. Don't forget, if you're a part of Northridge, this weekend we're continuing with the Revelation series. If you're not a part of Northridge, you're welcome to catch us on our YouTube channel. We'd love to have you there. But be faithful to a local church somewhere. And I hope to see you next week for Thursday Live. I'd show you Lincoln, but he's not at my feet, so we'll wait for next time. And thanks again for being a part of Thursday Live. See you next time.